Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everybody out there. Welcome. Let me get one big round of applause to episode 2 of season 2.5. Let's get it, guys. And so for that, I'd like to let's keep it short, introduce the people here with me right now. Let's bring it to the first person. Say your name.
Me! Hey guys, I'm Raffie Leon and I am the co-producer and project manager of Dear 95. And I'm
Whoa. All right, after her, let's get the second ball rolling, buddy.
LOL. I know, am I that good?
Very good.
Boom!
But the
Ako na
second.
naman. Welcome back to another episode.
Whoa,
Discussing
shocking
American.
thought.
I'm S.
Oh.
Pili. I'm a co-producer of DR95 and I'm a second-year BSP student.
Alrighty, boy, but let's save the best for
Coolness.
last. Let's save that best. Give it.
My name is Skyler. My name is Skyler Valencia.
But you can
And,
call him Boomer.
I'm graduating this August, and
Oh.
I'm really excited to get to the real world. And
Oh.
I'm soon to be no longer a UANP student. So cancel me if you want. Go ahead.
Wait, can you say that one more
Hey,
time?
bye,
Wait,
sister.
wait,
Okay.
say that word. Say that word again. Say it.
Okay.
Cancel.
Because tonight, we're gonna talk about cancel culture. But first of all,
Whoa!
cue the intro. Hey guys, to bring it back, to bring it down to earth, let's reintroduce what's gonna happen tonight. Basically, I already said it. You already have the firm grasp on what we're gonna say. Cancel culture. Now let me set the ground rules first. Let me keep it consistent first. So I'm sure everyone here who watches the show and people who are working with the show, we're all very in touch with what happens online, right? And because of that, we're on social media platforms all the time, right? On Twitter, on all these things. And I feel like there's this essence of a place where cultures manifest. So let's say a fashion of culture or culture of fashion. You know, people share what they wear online and all these different cultures come out. You can expand it to music. People talk about music. They have communities where they dig deep into artists' portfolios, etc., etc. But today, we're going to delve into one specific culture that stems from something very controversial, which is cancel culture. Now, before that, I'd like to go around the people here. How do you define cancel culture personally? I want to get like a different insight from each of you so that our viewers get to know you. So whoever wants to pipe up first, be the first one in.
I'm gonna go first.
All right.
I'd like to assume naman, but siguro, okay, including my friends, including the people that I know, there's this presupposition that cancel culture entails accountability completely. But we're going to talk about it later. But personally, I wouldn't even say accountability because more often than not, the aspect of redemption is removed from cancel culture. So I dumb it down to the eradication of thought criminals from from a homogenized opinion of society.
Wow.
It's a big
Wow.
thought. It's a power thought right there.
Wow.
Man,
Philosopher.
philosophy. Do you major in philosophy, Pili? Or what's your course pala?
DSBA, bro.
Ako. Sige na. Okay, moving on. Next one. Who wants to go next in line? Tell me all about it. What's
I'll
cancel
go.
culture?
I'll go.
Ooh, Raffie. Let's go.
Okay, so basically, public culture is the act of public shaming or like boycotting a certain business or an individual, a celebrity, based on their past mistakes.
Mhm.
It's enforcing this certain mindset of not supporting this person because of that mistake. It's telling people what you should be doing.
So essentially, it's like a sort of standard that people have now. It's like a tool, I guess is what you're meaning to say, that
Yeah.
people use. All right. Kyle, do you agree or do you have your own viewpoint?
Well, as a boomer kasi,
Oh, no.
wala
What an
pa kasi kami
excuse.
internet nung
Such an
time namin.
excuse.
So, hindi, seryoso, for real though, I think,
DSBA, bro.
I mean, like,
Reppin'.
I think anyone naman kasi who has a phone can
Hmm.
understand what cancel culture is. Anyone, especially anyone who has Twitter. Super. So, I think the definition naman stands regardless of the words you use. You understand what cancel culture is. It's like calling out. It's call out culture also. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're all in agreement naman with the definition.
I feel like
I
we
think-
are.
I think there's a difference between cancel culture and calling out someone or like like it's not like cancel culture doesn't necessarily mean um okay, when you call someone out, you say you did something wrong, apologize, change. But what cancel culture says is that I've called you out, you apologized and changed. But people around you who are enforcing that cancel ostracize you, kick you out of society.
I wouldn't even say cancel culture. I'd say more on outrage.
Yeah, because of that whole hate mob or people saying let's cancel this person because of that mistake.
Oh, for sure. I think with that in mind, I think we can all agree naman collectively that
Woo!
it's a certain tool that people use to get reactions out of people in the case against someone. So with that in mind, of course, I have keep it light again. Cancel culture is when people band together to make sure someone is held accountable for a certain action. And in line with that, let's get a little deeper into what we personally believe in. And I'm sure the audience, people watching right now, you guys want to talk all about that. You want to agree or disagree with our points. We invite that. This is a room of discussion. And to kick it off, I guess I'll start with me since I got to lay the grounds a bit. For me
Okay,
personally,
let's
all
go.
right, with cancel culture, let's take it to the heart a bit. I'm going to establish a heart of sorts. At the heart of that idea, right, there's a sense of want for justice, a need for being heard. In the sense that in an online space where people interact, the basis of an online space is interaction. It's easy for people to get caught up in different situations. Now, many situations can be very toxic or be very negative. Of course, that can extend from many different things. I'm sure you can think of one on the top of your head. But essentially, what the online space has created is a sort of culture that is made to collectively band people together to call someone out and ask for accountability. Now, that can come in many forms if that person's business must be affected, if that person's name must be not necessarily dragged down, but obviously put into light for people who don't know, many other things. So that kind of narrows down cancel culture to a tool that people use to band together. Now, I'm sure that the people here, these three people, sure they got their own views about it. Me personally, though, I'm gonna say now, as it stands, the idea itself, right? It's good. It's very, very, I'm going to say useful, but that sounds a bit too, out of it, right? It's very, very helpful for people who need that type of assistance that where they really can't get it anywhere else. Now, when it comes to how it's used today, that's a whole different story, right? Bet the
Yeah.
people here can agree. So, man, what do you guys think? Like, do you agree with me? I want to
Sige,
hear
let
you
the boomer go
disagree.
first. Okay, so for me naman kasi,
Uh-huh.
it can only be considered cancel culture, di ba? If it's a person in power or influence. Last time, di ba? Hindi pwedeng si ate lang sa gilid ng kalsada is
Mhm.
it's a
Yeah.
cancel culture. Medyo weird yun. So kailangan, and I think, like, being a fellow management student as Pili,
Oh, there we
I think
go.
the whole concept of cancel culture is perfect because I agree with the whole idea that the more resources you have as a person, regardless if it's money, business, fame, influence, the more liable you are and the more responsible you are for the well-being of other people. Like, di ba nga may saying na, um, may saying nga na parang, when you're rich or you're famous or you're a person in power, like your life seems like you're in a parang microscope. 'Di ba? Parang may ganun. And I think that's tama naman na parang if there are limited number of people that have the means in like the means to people from artists to artista to
Pero,
millionaires and yeah.
sorry to intrude, pero I wouldn't whittle it down to people that have, power, influence, etc. But everyone's given a platform these days. Everyone's given the capability to speak out, to share their opinion. So basically, in a sense, everyone has power. Kaya, believe it or not, may naka-cancel pa rin kahit tindera or anything, kahit hindi siya masyadong kilala, naka-cancel pa rin sila.
Pero feeling ko yun nga yung kailangan natin. I think that's, okay, fine. Okay, Pili. I think that's our first disagreement. Ako, for me, I only
Ooh,
consider it
number
cancel
one.
culture. I only
1-1.
consider it cancel culture if you're someone na may maka-cancel upon. Like, hindi yung, wala ka pang, like, if you have no influence, power, money, regardless like if you got it in a good or bad way, regardless of all of that,
Uh-huh.
hindi ka naman maka-cancel kung wala kang something to cancel eh. Like
Meron
yung
sila.
influence.
Prospects. Say someone is prior to looking for a job, someone did something and he got canceled. Out na siya dun sa job prospect niya.
No, because I consider cancel culture as something that it's a trend eh. Like we said nga last episode, I think cancel culture is a trend that blew up. Like wala namang set date na nag-start yung term na cancel culture and all that. Pero ako for me, ang first recollection ko was like the R. Kelly case, right? Na parang yun yung first na
Oh yeah.
sobrang naging effective in
Bring it back.
banding together in canceling a disgusting human being. And
Exactly. And to interject in that point, if you didn't watch our last episode, go check that out. Episode 1 of season 2.5. We talked more about sexual harassment, but that leads into what this culture is. And before anything, I'm so sorry. I'm going to continue
Rocky
your
didn't
point.
introduce yourself.
But yes,
Let's go,
Me,
Rock, our main host.
I have a small brain. I'm sorry. I don't have a good attention span. But hey, hi. I am Ramon Amon. You can call me Rock. I am a media entertainment management student, and I'm glad to be a back-to-back main host for you guys today. Oh my
Yes.
God. Okay.
Yay, let's
Yes.
go, Amon.
Sorry, guys. The topic was
rock,
on my
Rock.
head. Yeah,
Ha,
Oh my
ha.
God.
that's a
My
boomer
God.
right there.
Yeah,
So-
sorry guys. We're
I'm
so
sorry, guys. The topic was on my head the whole time. I'm so sorry.
Alam.
But now, let's get back into it. Now, Raffie, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts bubbling in your
Yeah.
head, right? Yeah,
I
go
just
say it.
wanted to ask, what do you think is the point of cancel culture? Okay, if it's to remove all these toxic or problematic people from influence, because we were just talking about that. It's basically like shattering the pedestal we put on these influential people. But that purpose can be achieved without completely canceling someone. Yes, I mean, the trend now is to raise awareness as to who these influential people are and what they stand for. And it just depends on the judgment on each person. It's their choice on how much influence they let these people into their lives, right? So I don't really see the whole point of canceling somebody. If you can literally, I mean, ostracizing someone from society, I don't think that's humane or in a sense.
There, that's the first big point. I mean, I can honestly say on my end too, the reason why I first said, I don't agree with the certain way that culture is using it now. Instead of giving people a certain vehicle to be held accountable in front of the spotlight, it seems as though the ripple effect is that many people use this as a way to bring someone down unjustly. Now, look, there's a way you can look at justice, right? That's a big word. I don't want to go too in depth
Yeah.
about that.
Wow,
For
there's
sure.
a way you can
I'm
look
just
at
a-
just.
I'm just a host. I'm not a philo major or I'm not a law major, but I can say this. In justice, right, we always look for a sense of balance. If you do something to me, I want to see you receive the same amount of treatment or at least the same level of justice. The way that they can, how do I say it? The gravity of what happened to me can happen to you too. So in a sense, cancel culture became that, the tool that people use to band together to put this person up and say, can you answer to this? And perhaps it will affect things in your life to ask for justice. But then that ripple effect is people use it and say, why don't we just bring someone down because we don't like them? So like what Raffie said, ostracizing. So that's a big word too. So word for the day, ostracizing is when you unfairly
Ostrich.
ostrich eggs.
Ostracizing. Yeah, and
Ostrich.
the thing with cancel culture is you're guilty until proven innocent. It's the other way around.
Yeah, pero...
Yes.
Yes. Go on. Point one. Raffie.
Okay. Okay, look, Raffie, you're
Okay.
a very compassionate, like you're very nice, and I agree naman with the whole forgiveness and all. Pero hindi. I totally agree. Ako for me, especially the
Peeper.
Peeper. Word
people
number
we
three.
look up to, the people we look up
Yun nga,
to,
people.
talagang if they do something absolutely nasty, as in nasty talaga,
Again.
I believe in a society na, okay, you built upon a career, a life that people are looking up social media, and you make it available for people to see how you live, alam mo yun, success mo and all that. You're opening yourself up for criticism about your life. Okay, so for me, if ganun yung setting, by all means, destroy the pedestal for these people. As in, absolutely destroy the pedestal.
Wait,
Okay,
If they
say
do
Pili.
something nasty.
Go, Pili, go.
Well, kasi based from what you guys are saying, worst case scenario, the person gets ostracized
Ostrich signs.
Yeah.
Yes,
from
ostrich
society,
egg.
diba?
Zing. Okay.
Okay.
That's the worst case scenario, diba? Based
Yeah.
from what you're saying. But
Mm-hmm.
feeling ko nga may mas malala pa dun eh. That the pursuants, those who are trying to, cancel this person, are trying to acquire the power or the influence that the other person has. Pag natalo na nila yun, then they have the power now. They create the herd mentality.
Parang personal vendetta na
Grabe.
parang personal
Grabe.
fulfillment.
Parang, Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Don't
boomer,
ostrich
boomer,
me.
boomer
Ah.
entertainment.
Yeah,
Grabe.
Game of Thrones. Ba yun? Walang ganun sa
Boomer
walang
boss.
cable dito.
Boomer
Anyway,
boss. So I'm a
short boomer break.
short boomer break right there, right from our resident boomer.
My
On the
gosh.
socials.
Fountain
nangyari?
pen. Fountain pen.
To bring it back, right?
Okay,
I
we
was,
are
I was,
back.
Game.
Are we
we are
back?
back. We are back right on the air. I'm very interested actually in what was being said just a moment ago, because when I opened the floor, there were a lot of very, very controversial points that opened up. And I want to bring one point out, right? I don't know if I think it was you, Pili, that introduced the whole or sorry if it's Kyle, forgive me if it's one of you. Basically, you mentioned the fact that once you open the space, it's just good game, fair game. If that person is put
Yeah.
down or whatever, it's good. I'm gonna ask you this though. This is very one telling question, which I feel like many people in the audience share that sentiment with me. So, are you saying that with a platform, not platform, with a culture like this, you're saying that it's fair for something like that to happen? Are you saying that the ends justify the means? Is that this kind of situation? Because that's something to think about.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, wait. Okay,
Yes, I
Pili,
mean,
Pili, say something first. I want to hear you. Why you said no? Because that's what
You
interests me.
I mean, look, I understand there are avenues.
ano?
What? What?
What?
Pero sige na, nauna ako sa mundong to eh. Ikaw nauna magsalita.
Thanks, darling. Okay. There.
God.
I got it. I got it. I understand.
Ay, Carly.
All right,
Bravo.
opposition.
Okay,
You
Okay,
have the
let's
stage.
go, Pili.
Opposition has the stage. You got the mic, boy.
Anyway, I understand that there are
There's no
avenues
mic.
for speech. There are avenues for people to share their opinions, and I highly support that. But the extremity that cancel culture has reached right now is not a worthwhile endeavor anymore. Cancel culture, not necessarily, but at least lessen the degrees to which those tangible effects could possibly destroy someone.
So what say you, Kyle? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, disagreement number 2.
Dun, dun,
There it
for
is.
me,
Dun,
it's
dun,
just
dun.
look, the world is unfair and not speaking, wow, sobrang boomer line. Pero the world is unfair. And like, I think regardless of what age you are, 14 all the way to 44, 84, whatever age you are in, you would have some understanding that the world is unfair. And those who are in higher capacity than other people need to have a pillar watching over them, that they can't, just because of their power, that they can move whatever way they want to move. Right? So yun lang yung point ko, na parang you wanna gain power, you want to gain fame, you wanna gain like influence, do it the right way. I would rather have that
I
pillar
see.
than wala, na walang accountability at all. And that's, I mean, I'm not throwing it to politics. A really good example is, kunyari, politicians natin sa Pilipinas. I think the reason why we have one of the highest corruption rates is because walang accountability at all sa kanila. And they move.
Well, yeah, I understand naman na
You understand.
cancel culture.
But
Understood.
No, actually, you know what, cancel culture, at least the presumption that we have that cancel culture is for accountability, is a completely utopian idea. Hindi mangyayari. I understand the world is unfair and ideas can be perverted in many ways. But the way cancel culture is moving right now is just too extreme to let it go.
I
so
think
in that
what cancel culture is right now, I mean, one big factor is the time frame. Because we're looking back at celebrities or YouTubers who made mistakes like 9 or 10 years ago, and we're still delving into that mistake until now. Is that reasonable? I mean, okay, you have all lied. We have all lied, right? Would you call yourself liars today? Or Or,
not to
okay,
be, not
Well,
to
I'm not a
brag,
boomer.
not to brag, you know.
okay. But if you think, I mean, it's as simple as you aren't who you were before or like
Okay,
last
so
year or
growth, yeah,
something.
it's personal growth. Okay.
I mean, what exactly? So I guess in the time frame, we can put it as a measure to cancel culture. Like if they make the mistake now and they still don't hold themselves accountable, or if they, you know, if they don't apologize about it, or if they just ignore that being called out, then that's when you can like cancel them, but not in a way. Well, it's just technically calling them out. You know,
Yeah,
it's
but that doesn't happen. More often than not, these people aren't just called out; they're completely canceled.
Pero
that's why
practicality
exactly we
aside,
shouldn't.
Ano?
practicality aside. Okay, so I think you're looking at cancel culture. I think baka nga may difference na in looking at it eh. Na parang I'm looking at cancel culture as a concept. Kayo, you guys nga are giving the practical reasoning of like this is what cancel culture is right now.
Ano,
So,
I'm looking at the concept then. And kaya tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, it's a utopian concept kasi. So, I'm focusing on the landscape
Exactly.
right now, which is cancel culture is unreasonable.
unreasonable
Mm.
Mm,
for
that's a,
for reals?
For reals,
for
bro.
real, y'all. For
reals,
real,
yung
real.
vibe.
Sobrang
Hindi
vibe
na
nun.
vibe.
Sobrang
Guys,
vibe.
guys, I feel like there's a whole air of that right now. I think we need to start bringing up certain examples right now, which I'd like to do. If no interruption, no interjection, I'm gonna bring this out now. Since we're gonna level out now, since we're kind of heading out of the certain concept itself and into the real world, sorry, application of it. Let me bring up this certain this word, right? I'm not a very knowledgeable person, but I do know the name Buknoy. Is anyone familiar with
Ah,
that? Can I get a
Mhm.
yes? Yeah, yeah.
yes,
Yep.
And if you're familiar
yes.
with that audience, you can
How
talk
about
about
you?
that.
Yes, okay.
How about you, Boss Boomer? In the comment section below, if you want to talk about it too, we invite you, we encourage you. But basically, I'm not going to get into specifics. Just look up the word Buknoy online and you'll get it.
Yep.
With Buknoy, the certain influencer, I'll call them, a certain incident happened on the street, right? In fact, it's very in line with what you said, kind of parang, oh, I shouldn't just call, at this street and just cancel her. It was very similar because this Buknoy, this person, on the street itself, in a sort of vlog style, right? I'm not sure
Yeah.
about the context itself, but what's important was that in a few line of words, they started explaining this concept of, work hard to get what you pay for, blah blah blah. And
Mhm.
in a
No,
certain
work hard
moment,
to reach your dreams. Or
there we
something.
go. Okay, so it was working hard, essentially, and then she started bringing up like a certain economic prospect of, oh, money is involved, blah blah blah. And there's a certain point in that video where a tricycle driver passes by. Correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Yep.
And they make this snide remark that not quoted, but goes along the line of saying something like, your line of work, is how do you say this? I don't want to offend, but it's something like your line of work, you need to work harder than like the rest of us, or blah blah blah. Basically, they ended up bringing a sort of economic or social civic discrimination.
Parang you should work hard to pursue your
You,
dream.
yeah, yeah,
And then you
yeah.
mag-tricycle. Ganun ka lang.
There was a certain ignorance that was involved, and it was very obvious naman. And so they tried to play it off in the video, and obviously when people watched it, they went crazy. That's when cancel culture got involved, right? And so everyone started attacking, calling for Buknoy to be accountable, and said, why don't you actually say something? And they did. They ended up making an apology video, and that was the end of that essentially. But it's still rippling now. If you go online, a lot of people are still kind of ripping into them. And so I'd say that's one certain local example of how this has happened. Now, for my stand and why I use that is because that is one case in this platform where it was to a degree used fairly. And I say that because I get the grave connotations that you guys are putting out that, oh, this is a very utopian ideal and it's just too mismanaged, or that it's just too much, or like in your point, Kyle, is that it's one choice that's better than the other. And to that point, I'm going to say now that I agree with Kyle to an extent, because in this case, with a platform like this, it allows something like this to happen, which is called growth. I mean by that is because it was clear naman that with Buknoy's situation, we don't know them personally. We don't know if there was any sense of real progression, but from what they've done and from how the platform has treated them, they've been treated fairly, in the sense that in the misbehavior they've had, I would say it's fair enough to assume that they now know what's wrong, and whether or not they genuinely will continue to grow past that, it's up to them. But what this culture was able to do was able to at least change the perspective of one person who may have had a bad influence over others. And so to me, that just
Mm.
tells me, okay, as rampant as the culture is, at least now there are certain things that are happening that wouldn't happen without it, right? And I'd say the better is how do I say this? Is that the effects are worth it. And you can dig into that situation itself. I'm sure they have a certain response, whether it's good or it was bad, if they didn't care or not. But the
I know
point.
he didn't care, honestly.
Oh, really? He didn't.
Oh,
Okay,
Mm-mm.
sige. But that brings up my point naman na parang at the very least, something like this can still happen, which gives a sense of justice for people who might have been affected by this. But in that case, what do you guys think?
uh,
Is this something you good with or no?
first of all, I mean, okay, I don't watch Buknoy, so I wouldn't know
Yeah.
completely. But
Buknoy, Bugoy. Bugoy.
ano ba
Clearly.
sinabi ko?
Clearly.
Sabi mo Bugoy.
Bugoy. Bugoy.
So si Bugoy, okay. Moving.
Buknoy. Okay, I'm
Yun,
getting canceled. So. But okay, I don't watch Buknoy per se, but I do know a few things. Na, yeah, given yung statement ni Cal prior to this conversation, I wouldn't equate Buknoy to a street vendor or anything. He has 500,000 subscribers on YouTube.
200 na lang because of the cancel culture.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Ripple
180.
effect.
180k.
Exactly.
180k ba?
I don't watch Buknoy per se, but you see, given that nawalan siya ng 300,000 subscribers, is a good enough of an example that cancel culture doesn't encourage growth. It encourages caution. It encourages caution. It
Good
doesn't
point.
allow the
Good point.
person to
Yeah.
grow. It stops the person when he inevitably makes mistakes. That's okay. I again, the act was reasonable. Buknoy got to know what he did wrong, but there are these unavoidable byproducts of cancel culture that again are too extreme na in my end.
What? Okay, wait. But this is what I'm curious about, and I'm sure you guys can also comment on this. So, like, would you say that with the culture itself, right? Do you say that there should be a certain standard of limit to it? Do you think that people online should have to understand a certain quota of like, we need to be smart about this. Let's not try to bring it to that level. Or do you really believe that people are just
Yeah.
naturally
No,
inclined?
we have to
think-
be smart about everything
Yeah,
we do.
there has to be a
That's
measure.
true. Yeah, I
Mm.
see that. I was wondering
No,
about what.
Well, okay. Oh, sige. You want me to take this podcast to
Go.
the next level? You want
Do
me to walk
it.
the ledge?
This
Want
is
me
what
to
it
walk the
is.
ledge?
This
Hey,
is
let's
what this
go, go,
platform's
go.
about. Bring it
Ledge
in.
time.
Wait lang.
Let's go.
Okay. Before anyone again throws rock Amon sa
You made that
Bintana
joke sa
ko.
first episode.
please hear me out first, my full statement. If you actually research, there can be an argument that you can give out na what Buknoy did was an entertainment thing. Okay, that's one. Number two,
Mhm.
if you actually like dive in deep the incident, right? I think there are a lot of sensitive people online. Okay? But the problem is, pati sila din naman, when turn the blind eye and hindi sila yung tinitignan ng super, they say the same kinds of things. So, ang sinasabi ko lang here is, though I may not agree with yung ginawa ni Buknoy na wala siyang pakialam in terms of addressing the issue, I still think na it's not like the 11th commandment na talagang for every human person in the world, kailangan sa tingin nila mali yung ginawa ni Buknoy. So bringing it back to cancel culture. Cancel culture also allows those who do not agree with you to stop following you. Like, can I just say na, like, you don't have to follow everyone on social media. And we should respect the opinions of different races. Regardless if I think na, alam mo yun, there's a thin line between, it's fine because it's entertainment, and it's like you have to be sensitive about everything palagi. Right? So, what I'm saying lang is, for both sides, there should be a respect that everyone cannot and should not think the same way. What cancel culture allows someone to do is to select on social media the kind of things you want to watch. Yung kunyari yung nangyari sa kanya, yung canceling sa kanya, nabawasan siya ng 200, 300, how many?
Yeah, a lot of
300 subscribers.
subscribers.
Yeah.
Basta
Yung
very
300 subscribers na yun,
mm.
I mean, wala eh. They don't agree with him. I mean, is that completely something na beyond reconciliation? Hindi naman. Lumayo lang sa kanya. Ayaw pakinggan siya.
No,
Same as he...
I mean,
Well, it's
sorry, but
depends
when I
sometimes.
brought up the point of losing subscribers, okay, it's reasonable to assume that at least siguro in this movement na lang, that the spearheads set the tone. Cancel Buknoy. That's what they say, most likely. But the thing with cancel culture is it encourages a herd mentality that those who actually disagree with their notions aren't allowed to do so. They're more or less internalizing their opinions and just doing what the rest are doing because it seems that it is right because more people are doing it.
Then I
Exactly.
think it's not...
That's
go,
why
go,
it's not cancel. Okay, like we respect you have your own decisions, you have your own judgments. Go support whatever you want. What cancel culture does is I don't want to see this person and nobody else should. Exactly what Pili
Yeah.
was saying. It's trying to enforce that judgment on people. Like this certain person is like this. And to think about it, not everyone is smart enough to, what research all the way and be like and make his own judgment. I mean, at this point, what a trend is a trend, and people just follow.
No, but
Right?
that's... Then there exactly is my disagreement. I mean, if it's not a knock on cancel culture because at the end of the day, for me, even when you search sa Google what cancel culture is, yung nuance na everyone just needs to follow, na you also cancel the person outside the subject. Like kunyari someone wants to defend Buknoy, right? Like wala naman yun sa talagang definition ng cancel culture. That's a nuance eh.
Actually,
the
no, I
principle...
disagree. Sorry, I don't think it's a nuance. Here's an example. Nature Research did a study on cancel culture back in 2018. What they found was moralization in social networks and the emergence of violence during protests creates this breeding ground for violence. It's not a deliberate hindrance on other people's freedoms. It's the perversion of the context that they are in.
So you're saying it's like it's as if the current climate has sort of manipulated what this whole ideal was
It's like,
intending to be.
to give us a simple example, if you want, for example, someone wants something out from another person. They're not outright saying that you should give me this thing, but they're trying to modify the conversation in such a way that giving them that thing would be the right thing to do. That's what cancel culture does.
Okay. I see.
It's okay. Again, I think there is a giant disconnect on personally on my part on like hindi siya yung principal thing eh. It's not, it's okay, this is what happens now. Okay? And tama sinasabi ni Raffie. Sige, I'll walk the ledge. Madami talagang dumb people online. And madaming cloud chasers online. Go hate me if you want.
Go off.
Fire up my DMs.
Kyle.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go off, sis.
If maganda naman yung argument nyo, I'll reply. Pero like kung hate messaging lang, like go ahead.
You'll reply to them pero not to us.
Anyway, okay. So what I'm saying here is, sige, if you don't like the dumb, the meaning of dumb, search it up. It's not actually as bad as you think. The definition of dumb. Sige, madaming irresponsible people.
There we go.
And clout chasing people online.
Okay.
Go. As in, okay. So with that being said, I think this is how I perceive it. Cancel culture is, I can say utopian is a great idea. The nuance does not come from the idea. The nuance comes from the lack of reason,
lack of understanding. Yeah.
Understanding from the people, not the concept.
Exactly. I mean, sorry, Kala. Let me ask you. You're talking about the concept of cancel culture, diba?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Diba?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What we're talking about here is what's happening right now. Because you can argue about semantics, you can argue about ideologies, but the thing that you have to control is what actually is happening. And what cancel culture is doing right now is it's not it's not it's not encouraging discussion 95. It's not encouraging discussion. It's creating
Describe.
echo chambers of opinion.
Yeah, but I can see that with a lot of things. Sige, hindi. Sige, I'll give an example. Democracy. Right? Democracy,
Oh,
My
there are a
God.
lot of like
Big
forums and books you can read how democracy is a
utopian. Okay. Fourth
utopian
word.
concept, right?
Utopian.
Utopian concept. Yeah,
Mm.
it's a utopian concept kasi it says that um you have the power to every citizen has the power or responsibility to his or her own country, right? So
Yeah, but saying
that's
that
the whole
about
Okay, but
other
also,
ideas is not a reasonable thing to say because we're focusing on cancel culture.
Hindi kaya
and
nga. So I'm
wait,
just
wait,
saying
wait.
nga,
What
it's
cancel
Let's tag.
culture
Okay, go.
does without democracy? Okay, everyone can say what they think, but what they're saying is, I can say whatever I want to say, but you cannot say whatever you want to say.
no,
So
but
it-
okay. So no, I'm trying to take a step back and tell you, like I understand your point. Eh. Your point is you're saying that regardless of the concept, we have to control what's happening now. So we have to look at cancel culture realistically and practically. That's what you guys are like. Yun yung
Mhm.
arguments nyo eh. Hindi nga, like, I disagree with that. That's why I gave the example of democracy. Kasi if you look at all democratic states, yun yung pinakamataas na corruption, ang daming errors by human being. But democracy as a concept, we all agree is tama, 'di ba? Like we don't want some
Mhm.
like
So-
we all agree with the concept of democracy, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, we do.
so we all agree na democracy is a concept worth fighting for and something we should stick with regardless of the irresponsibilities of the people within it.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
concept
Well,
worth being there.
we're arguing about it right now because, okay, at least I can assume for Rock and Raffie that we're pursuing development towards the achievement of that
That's
idea.
that's the main goal.
Mhm.
That's like the primary.
Mhm. So
Mhm.
when we say that, yeah, there are other concepts that we can argue about, or there are other utopian concepts that can be put into question as well. People are. But for
Mm.
cancel culture, it's just so toxic that these spearheads created such effective movements and echo chambers that questioning them is probably unsafe for some, or at least
Mm.
for people with a platform.
Oh
So
well,
are
yeah.
you saying that we should end cancel culture?
Personally, I think
I think there's a better way, not canceling first.
Mm. In that
I think we
sense,
should end it on it.
Canceling a person, I mean, when culture comes from the concept of manipulating a truth and molding it into your own agendas for each
Mm.
person, and that's why it goes wrong. Because then again,
that's true.
you're guilty until you're proven innocent. That's what it basically is.
That's true. There's a certain balance to what happens, whether it's too much or it's the right amount. And from the overall discussion that I think's been talked about for a few minutes now, actually, I think what we stand on now is understanding these two ideas. Number one, that there is collateral when it comes to things like this. Now, cancel culture on its own is an entirely different entity when it comes to other things. It's an entire enabler of movements. It's what gets people together. In that sense, Kyle, I can, and I hope the audience can also be split on this because it's a very big topic that I feel like doesn't have one solid answer. In the vein of what you said, Kyle, at least me personally, I can also agree with the sentiment that even if there is collateral, the overall prospect of it is what we need as a generation moving forward. Because with a platform like this, with a tool, it's what gives us the power to be able to do things like this, to hold people that have truly done wrong accountable. Like from what you said, I'll bring it back real quick. That small example of R. Kelly, with what he did,
Yeah.
with the evidence proven out,
Mhm.
what happened was correct. The people were able to call him out, to bring him to the light, to bring him to actual news outlets, to really say his side of the story for people who didn't know outside of the internet. With that in mind, I also have to bring up what Raffie and what Pili are bringing up now. I get the feel that with you two and with many people watching right now, that the collateral is simply there and it can't be ignored. It's as if the certain damage that's being done by this culture itself, we can't ignore it just for the sake of idealistic progress. Like we
Not
have.
for the
Oh,
sake of
okay.
idealistic progress,
Okay.
but
Enlighten me.
the
So,
curb extremes.
okay.
Yeah,
As if
but go ahead.
it's as if to limit that. Like I'm getting the feel that, and from what you said, Rafi, I think that's what I want to actually talk about in this next part with what you said about providing an alternative. Before we really dig into what how we can progress with this culture moving forward, I actually wanted to ask that question. I think you and Pili can answer this very well. So you mentioned an alternative. For now, I think it's feasible to say that putting a limit on the culture of canceling itself may be a bit too difficult, especially with our social climate right now. So with that in mind, do you or Pili or even Kyle, if you want to pipe up, do you have like a certain alternative in mind? Do you think that there's a sort of way we can shift the direction into a new a method? Like, what do you think? What's this new ideal you want to put out?
No, we brought up democracy a while ago, diba? I mean, Cal brought
Mm,
it up. But the thing about democracy is there's a certain balance in place. With cancel culture, it's actually the perversion of democracy. It's mob rule. You're giving too much power to the people.
mm,
So I guess I wouldn't say give an alternative to it.
mm.
I wouldn't say completely end it. Sorry, but sorry for the confusion given my earlier
Yeah,
statement.
no, go.
I'd say just limit the power of the people and
Mm.
enable institutions that we put into place to keep each other in check to do their job.
So you feel as though that should extend into the wide open space that is social media, as if
Yeah,
that
much
people
more
should
beyond
begin to
that.
standardize. Okay, I get where that's coming from.
Can I answer Pili on that one?
Go lang, go. This is it.
But like
I want to hear.
you hit a dead end eh. You hit a dead end na parang okay, so I translate that into a different thing na parang okay, you're giving a lot of power for the people na in the herd, as you might say it, the herd that is pushing upon an agenda forward, lalo na in social media. And what you guys is saying na ostracize yung
What
Yeah.
mga
you
tao
guys what you
that
guys is saying.
want
Yeah.
to say
Yes.
otherwise, 'di ba? Like yung people who think against the common crowd of things, 'di ba? So yun yung
Mhm.
sinasabi nyo. Then I take that as the people who disagree just have ano naman
Mm,
like, do you get me? Like,
I
and
see.
yung and the thing is for me, if you if you power those people up na parang you can even if you disagree, you have to speak up, you have to say your thoughts, what you think about issues, regardless if you disagree with the vast majority. You hit a dead end if sila lang naman yung tinatry mo i-push forward. Kasi kailangan maging fair siya for all, na lahat pinupush natin. So what if nga a great majority, 70% of the whole population agrees on one thing? Kahit i-empower mo yung 30, i-empower mo pa rin yung majority. Kasi it's free speech eh. Everyone is involved. So for me lang na parang someone who believes in democracy, as someone who believes in disagreements in the pursuit of a better
Discourse.
civilization,
Oh yes.
discourse, let's disagree. There's no feelings involved. Like, we're trying to make a better society. If you push the minority to speak up against the people canceling, it entails empowering the majority as well.
Okay.
Hence, cancel culture is a principle that push forward whatever you may think.
So in a sense, what
Even-
you're proposing is that there is no clear-cut solution put out. Instead, it should be that we shouldn't take away the voices of everyone, like on the internet or on social media.
Yeah.
Because like what Pili entailed naman na to give more power to people to standardize. What you mean is that to make sure that everyone has a sense of opposition, because obviously we all can agree naman that opposition entails growth. If we have that for a certain culture like this consistently, it shouldn't stop. What you're saying is that that's what's gonna help
It
it grow out of the
in in
misconception.
in,
it
in a
shouldn't.
nutshell,
Go.
what I was saying lang is, if ang angal ninyo, sige, Tagalog na. Raffie, I hope you can answer this.
Nosebleed,
Understand.
Raffie. Oh,
If-
no.
We're in this together.
If what you're saying is may na-ostrich na mga tao
Uh-huh.
na opposing the general mass view of the majority.
Majority.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boomer language. Anyway, pero of the majority, if sinasabi mo na in-overpower sila, in-ostracize sila nung hindi na nakakapagsalita if you disagree. The empowerment of those people entail empowering even the majority.
But I wasn't recommending that we empower the 30%. I was
Mm.
recommending that we empower institutions, formal institutions that have systems in place to keep people in check.
So a more standardized.
I wouldn't put them in
yeah.
a 70-30% scale because institutions usually, and reasonably so, have more power. But now they're slowly losing it because we're slowly transitioning into a mob rule society.
Okay.
Pero mali din kasi into institutionalizing those things because we've seen through history and like through data na institutions are easier to corrupt. Kasi pag sila may sinabi that you don't agree with, you don't get to converse with them. Example, ABS. They're an institution that decided upon all of us. Right? As in, it's a government institution. And the institution decided on our behalf, on what we think. Sa tingin mo kung pinaboto yung buong Pilipinas, like vote, tatanggalan ba ng permit ng ABS at CBN o hindi? I'm pretty sure ABS-CBN will be standing right now. Yun lang yung problem ko with institutions. It's I want to just move away from things that end all be all. Pag sinabi nilang ganito, ganyan lang talaga. Because that's not, for me, democratic.
The thing about institutions kasi is they're controlled environments. Okay, it's possible that some institutions don't encourage discourse. But there are also some that try to go with the developments that we've achieved so far. So it's not fair to encourage the marginalized people, as they say, just because some institutions fail to meet their purpose.
Oh, well, I want to ask this first. I want to spring forth first. Raffie, whose side are you on? Because I have my own, but we're in this together. Whose side are you on?
I'm on the.
I wanna know.
Come on.
Oh yeah, I'm on Pili side because obviously, the people can't deal with this alone, and we need that source of backup. And in a sense, this is our backup solution. But like at the end of the day, I take back when I said that there should be an alternative because
Okay.
the thing with cancel culture now is it's being pushed to the other side of the pendulum. So for example, like I just want to bring up the James Charles issue last year. Okay, so basically what happened was he endorsed like the competition product of Tati Westbrook who basically was his mother figure, okay? And basically Tati got offended. So she posted a story saying, I feel so betrayed and all. And immediately, James put down that story and apologized, gave a public apology. And Tati was like, okay, I'll talk to this guy in private. But she took that back because she heard na James was contacting drama channels. Okay, it's a whole YouTube drama. Okay, and then Tati was like, "Okay, I am gonna contact my drama channels."
That's number one for Raffie.
So that's what she did. And what did James do? He told those drama channels.
Number two.
He told them, "Nah, I'm not gonna comment anything in public until she talks to me privately." And from then on, what cancel culture did was, what James did wasn't given any bearing, given the fact that he already acknowledged the mistake. He didn't ask for any money. It was completely like a public apology. She asked to talk to Tati in private, but it was pushed because everyone still focused on that mistake of betraying Tati or siding in Tati's side because Tati released this whole video, 43-minute video on saying bye sister. That's the title, right?
Bye sister.
Bye sister. So yeah, basically that's what cancel culture did. James's subscribers lessened by like what 100 or more than 100 million?
More than 100.
More than 100 million there. But after everything, come on, he doesn't have the right to be ostracized from society after acknowledging that mistake. I mean, it really cancel culture really just pushed that whole like issue. You know, it's like building tea on the like cold
T.
Well,
area. You know,
ano,
it's like it doesn't. I just doesn't make sense.
Raffie, as a fellow sister, no, let me pile up on that
Hey,
story.
sister.
What are we talking about? Like, I'm so
Kyle,
lost.
Kyle,
Sorry.
ito, I'll say
Hey,
this.
sister, but
I'm with you,
that
Kyle.
Kyle, it's
that
okay.
okay, that's
It's
where
okay.
cancel
I'm
culture was
lost too,
super
buddy.
evident.
I'm going to focus on the byproducts of cancel culture in that instance. But
Yeah.
there are two sides to that thing. Tati Westbrook, James Charles.
Yes.
Westbrook set the pace.
Let's
Russell
go, Pili.
Westbrook.
To Westbrook.
Tati Westbrook, bro. She set the
Scotty
pace.
Westbrook.
Tati.
It's Tati. My gosh.
Boomer,
What
keep
up?
up. Keep up, old
I'm
man.
listening. I'm listening.
All right, young
Okay,
one.
let's
Let's
go.
go.
So Tati Westbrook set the pace. James Charles is parang dinaya niya ako. James Charles. Sinabi niya talaga yun. Marunong siya magtagalog. Tati Westbrook
Oh,
said,
man.
Yeah.
set that pace.
Nice one,
Buknoy?
sister.
Boy.
Tati Westbrook set that pace. Now, given that she has a lot of subscribers, those subscribers took things to the extreme because, again, those subscribers were seeing that a lot of us are doing the same thing, that we're going out to cancel James Charles. So ang nangyari is hindi lang na point out yung ginawa ni James Charles.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's wrong, by the way. But
Yeah.
hindi lang na point out yung ginawa ni James Charles. Nahakot din lahat ng history, whatever sentiments that he made, his attitudes outside of YouTube, and even yung friends niya, the sister squad, which I
Oh,
watch a
man.
lot.
They broke up. Guys.
Even they were affected by the whole thing. So
Yeah, my gosh.
you can see naman the byproducts of cancel culture.
Yeah, very clearly.
Why
Yeah.
would they do that to James Charles? Pero
No, same
it's too extreme
feeling.
at this point.
Exactly,
So,
it's gone too
okay.
extreme. Like she
I
even
can't take
brought
this
up
seriously.
she even brought up the private side of it. You know, she used that opportunity to bring out a part that of James' life that wasn't even necessary.
Oh man, there's so much.
Just using it. My
There's so much dramatic like progression here. And I
Yeah.
don't want us to go into the deep end here.
hassle.
We're not an entertainment podcast. I'm sure you could find that somewhere else on Spotify.
I want to hear what Anon sister thinks.
Okay, well, all right. Since you
Yes, go.
suggested, I'm gonna go ahead of you, Kyle, because I feel like you have more substantial content.
Naiiyak
For
kasi.
me,
Kasi the
But
sister
for-
squad.
for me, I'm not. I don't. Okay, I'm somewhat aware of the whole makeup scene. I know James Charles. I know all that. I don't know the situation, but from what you guys have told in a very, very clear way, I get the sentiment, right? Obviously, with the entirety of this kind of culture, there's a certain there's a certain timeline to it, right? Sorry, it's a bit too vague. What I'm just trying to say is that this environment, of course, it's gonna have its own isolated events. With the entirety of the fan base of Tati Westbrook, am I saying it right? Or,
Yes.
Okay, Tati Westbrook. Okay,
Tati.
and her Tati Westbrook,
Scotty.
and her Scotty Westbrook, her environment, her fan base, right? What you're saying is that they
Yeah.
kind of went to the extreme, the overboard, and
Yeah.
they just straight up tried to attack and to band together and hold James to a sort of accountable justice. So we can agree that, of course, that was a situation that was pretty much taken too far. In that vein of saying that, I'm going to bring up my example and my point and say, when you have events like that, and this is linking back to what Kyle here said, this sort of democratic freedom of speech that happens online in social media platforms, it also entails many good things. I think my point with this whole episode is that with the platform and ability for people to come together like this, I'd say that I wouldn't say the pros outweigh the cons because the cons can't be ignored. But what I'm saying is if we, at a certain time right now, especially with how turbulent social platforms are right now, I'd say as of now, cancel culture itself, I feel like should be given a pass to perpetuate. And perhaps in the future, I agree with you, Pili, that many people online who might like. I guess institutions are a big word. I was meaning to say that. I think a lot of people can agree in their mind, right? That when we're talking about Twitter, I don't think a social institution is going to come in and say this is the ground rules for how you talk online. But I think what you meant to say, Naren, is that people should really just learn how to focus. Sorry, that was a big term on our last episode,
Yeah.
but yun nga,
Mhm.
people should come together and
Wow.
under consistency. People should come together, understand that there's a certain pace and we have to follow it. I get that. But in that same respect, I'm gonna bring up my own example. Now I don't know if you guys are very much aware, but the certain situation with Will Smith, I'm sure the people in the
Oh wait,
audience
finally
can.
something I'm familiar with.
Yes, there we
Okay,
go, Boomer.
okay,
Medyo,
YouTuber din naman siya.
Okay.
si
Si
kinda
Will
fresh.
kasi, si Will.
Si Will,
Oo.
si yung Fresh
Saka si
Prince of Bel
Jada.
Air. O si
Ano ba yan?
Jada,
Si,
oh.
oo.
Oo.
Oh, basta.
Oo,
So,
panahon ko sikat to eh. Oo.
so alam mo ba? Okay, so dito. I don't have all the specifics, but I'm gonna keep it short and breezy because I want Cal to talk too. But basically, what happened with Will Smith, essentially him and his wife, or I don't even know what to call them now, Jada. Basically, they've been a couple for a very long while. They go all the way back into the 80s, around when Kyle was our age, and essentially
Oh,
in that
younger.
same respect, in that same respect, obviously there's a whole. I'm sure you can look up yourself and see the culture behind Will Smith, right? What came to light a few months ago, or sorry, a month ago, was that the relationship between Jada and Will was actually, how do I say this? It was deemed open. And what I meant by that is that, to their understanding, is that their relationship, they could go on breaks essentially. Like they were consensually saying, okay, if we need time off away from each other, as in pretty much almost separated, that's okay because that's on us. And what happened was that Jada ended up seeing a guy. Now, obviously, she ended up. There's a certain interview. I forgot the channel, but it's up and it's the video that's most talked about now, where she brings up and says, I was doing it as a form of healing. I was with this guy while I was on a break because I was in a bad mental state. And do what you will with that information, but in the light of cancel culture, right? I felt as though it was very healthy. Number one, that because of a platform that Jada was given to talk her mind, and of course we can disagree. I want you guys to really bring up your points against mine. But in my eyes, with what happened with Jada, she put out her words out there. Obviously, as the public, we're not entitled to information, to all the information. I'm sorry. If there's things that they can keep to themselves, let them figure it out. But taking what Jada said explicitly, with a relationship as private as theirs, to me, it was really important that the culture itself can understand when it's time to back down a bit and to instead let people talk. Now, in that situation, the internet itself was actually very, in a sense, still vocal about it. In fact, I'm sure if you go on Twitter right now, you'll see Will Smith trending, and many people are supporting him and saying Jada did something wrong. But with the degree that happened with James Charles, the internet didn't do that. They instead decided to open up a sort of discussion, and for people who were supporting Will Smith, many people are just trying to bring up the point and say, okay, well then what's wrong with that? Like let's talk. Like why is the situation so
Yeah.
toxic as you think?
Mhm.
That's just one example in many. I'm sure I might be misreading the entire situation, but for my eyes and for many people who might share the same sentiment, it's important to man that this culture itself, it can still exist side by side with a certain situations that can invite fair discussion. In this case, Will and Jada Smith. But for you, Kyle, I'm sure you got your own, sentiments. If you wanna back me up, if you wanna talk.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you na parang yun nga I believe in a society that people are left to believe and think in their own prospects in whatever way they want to think. Alam mo yun? Ako personally, um in the world of like um identity politics and all that stuff, I'm not afraid to say na medyo Republican nga view ko eh. I'm a very conservative person and I'm not afraid to discuss and argue as long as the premise na it's for a bet like finding out the true answer with a very liberal person. Okay? So what I just want to say here is I think people forget how young social media is. Social media has been with us for what? 2 decades? It has been here for 2 decades, honestly. And yet we cancel what Pili says to be utopian concepts because we have yet to truly figure out how to use social media. So what are we going to do? Are we going to compromise and remove ideal things in society because we have yet to grow into a role na can handle it? Or we place these things above us, yung mga cancel culture, democracy, and we work on ourselves in figuring out the truths para magamit natin siya to its fullest capacity.
Yeah.
Okay, so with Will Smith, it's so interesting nga na parang with Will Smith and Jada Smith, it's so interesting how some people are trying to cancel Jada Smith for what she did.
Mhm.
Some people are trying to cancel Will Smith for forgiving her. And then a lot of people are defending both of them kasi that's what marriage is supposed to be. Daw, na you can make mistakes. May ganun pa. So I like the whole, alam mo yun, may whole conversation
Yeah,
ongoing
there's
in
a
social
conversation
media.
for growth.
And honestly, they opened Red Table Talk, right? They talked about it in front of millions of people. One of the most trending videos on YouTube now. So obviously, they're open to the opinions of other people. And this is a great example of, at the end of the day, I can have my own life, my own beliefs. You can have yours. And in the possibilities na we don't agree on things, we can talk about it.
Well,
That's
okay.
something cancel culture promotes eh.
Let me intrude na lang. Siguro,
Go.
given your former point muna, there are a lot of utopian ideas in there. Is
Mm-hmm.
that we have to be selective of which ones are almost applicable to our society because we can't actually achieve them completely. So we have to be selective because this shapes how society is. And I honestly, okay, I'd like to believe you too with the Will Smith incident.
Yeah.
I mean, ang tawag dito, wishful thinking. The whole argument happened, rationally and with control. But more often than not, what you hear, actually, the name itself stems from cancellation, cancel culture.
Okay.
So what happened? I wouldn't even label kung what you're saying is true completely. I wouldn't label that as cancel culture.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Okay.
I don't
Mhm.
think that is cancel culture because technically they were able to work around it, and no, they weren't ostracized. I mean, they're all like that's
They
people are
were.
talking about it, like they're part of society. I mean, that's why they're talking about it, and that's why I think cancel culture is such a hyperbolic statement. It's exaggerating things that aren't supposed to be exaggerated. Like for example,
Actually,
Okay.
that's something I disagree with your point kanina when you said na minimanipulate yung facts for the benefit of someone else. I don't think that's cancel culture.
I mean that's when they dictate what other people should think. That's what it does. Basically, they say, okay, let's cancel this person, and that's why everyone else is doing it because this certain influencer did that.
I wouldn't
That's what.
Yeah,
say I wouldn't say
we have
ano,
absolutely different definitions wala of cancel culture.
I wouldn't say
That's
modification of facts kasi what I'm talking about is cancel culture breeds this mentality that if you're in the minority, the majority are imposing fear upon you. You're not enabled to speak because siguro a lot more people are saying something else. That's what cancel culture does inadvertently. I'm not saying these people are deliberately imposing their opinions on others. They're not hindering on others' freedoms. They're modifying society in a way that fits their perceptions.
I see. So
but
the
it's just,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. Before I continue, I just wanted to say because I noticed this too when I brought it up that I opened the convo to sort of define the sides. I think it's all come to understanding now, and I actually want to reflect this on our platform as a whole. I mean, our platform, DR95. It seems as though we've all come to kind of in this span of I'd say less than an hour, we've come to kind of understand the development that we have different, completely different ideals, right? It seems
Mhm.
as though for the conversation that we just had like a minute ago, me and Kyle, we both have a different sense of understanding when it comes to the degree that cancel culture has manifested.
yeah.
It seems as though we both have the same idea that, we view it on this level and that you, Pili and Raffie, you view it on that level. And that's completely okay because at the end of the day, I'm gonna just back up one point because I'm on Team Kyle, I'm on Team Boomer. I'll just say this now.
Mhm.
Because with Kyle, right, he's
Okay.
I agree with him that although it isn't certainly itself, Will's whole situation, I'm sure you can find many others like that. It's not specifically cancel culture. It's not how you see situations like James Charles. What we're explaining is that in the same sense, this entire environment on social media that has manifested itself through cancel culture, situations that open up discourse more than anything, such as Will Smith, are what's important. That's what keeps cancel
Yes.
culture
Cancel.
from going off. That's one on me. That's what keeps cancel culture from going off the deep end, which is what brings it back to Kyle's point that in trying to find a limit in such a broad topic, it's better if we just let the concept of free speech continue to manifest because at the end of the day, that's how we're going to continue to grow and develop. Now, let me try to bring it up before any one of you jump at my throat.
Mhm.
I'm gonna just disclaimer now, man. I mean, I'm sure many people in the audience are raring to go. You got your phones out, you got your laptops out. I don't know what it is. If you want to attack any of us, man, we are open to it.
Pitchforks.
Absolutely.
Pitchforks ready.
Uh,
You guys want to do that, and that's completely understandable. And we really appreciate the fact that you do, because at the end of the day, with I'm certain we're not the only one, but as a team, we all pride ourselves on the fact that this environment is one of development at the end of the day, regardless of the semantics and all of that. We
Mhm.
strive for growth, for personal growth. And in the same vein that cancel culture is this whole phenomenon, at the core of that ideal, it's still growth, it's still development, it's still finding fairness for everyone involved, for people to lessen the chances of wrongdoings, for people to become more aware of their surroundings and of what they do. That's at the heart of it. But obviously, the four of us can argue all day about the semantics or the effects of it. But I know that,
Mhm.
the people watching right now and the people aware, and the four of us, we all know that's the heart of it. So if we're aware of that, at least, we can all at least come to our own conclusions, which is what leaves
Uh,
me. Okay, go ahead, Pili, before I.
yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. Just
Yan na,
okay.
yan na, yan na.
Ideally,
Ito
Super
na.
saiyan.
He's gonna fall off the ledge.
Super
hopefully,
saiyan.
hopefully, the Will Smith incident did encourage discussion at discussion 95
Oh yeah.
discourse upon those
Subscribe.
people. But I'm actually sure na there are much more examples of the perversion of the idea
Yeah.
compared to that. Because I can take examples then to prove my point. Look, when I said cancel culture doesn't encourage discourse, it imposes fear, diba? The people are not directly addressing the issue, they're trying to create a movement around it.
Yeah.
I can give an example then. Ako, I understand that I gave some very inflammatory statements on the first episode of this season,
Mhm.
but I've yet to hear one person approach me about it. All I hear is that they have freedom all.
There it is. Oh, okay, okay.
But I've yet to see one who's brave enough to approach me.
Oh,
Again,
buddy.
I encourage you people to
Okay.
do so. Go
Ito
ahead.
na.
Pero wala pa rin.
Okay.
Mhm.
Baka kasi may quarantine naman ngayon. Pero let's save that for the future, no? When school starts again, no?
Now,
You want to approach
can I,
Pili?
can I add to that though, like with Pili?
Mhm.
And I think, I mean, look, it's interesting how the whole misconception of cancel culture from both our ends, kasi technically, until the whole world agrees in one definition of cancel culture, we all have misconceptions with it.
Mhm.
But the thing is with me lang talaga, I mean, the fear that you're talking about, Pili, comes from just the sheer number. Just the sheer number of people who disagree with you. Diba? I mean, if there's anyone to cancel, it's the ones na hindi nakikinig on social media na just because you have an opinion about something, you're deemed na parang, hindi kita papakinggan or we can't have a discussion. Yun yung mga dapat i-cancel. Kasi not worth discussing, building what Rock was saying kanina na for progress anymore. It's just like biases and all that. Pero if it's just this, if a big factor of why it's hard to speak up if you're in the minority.
Number 6.
Speak up.
I've been keeping count.
Nag-glitch ako. Nag-glitch ako dun.
Pwede mo may counter.
It's the internet.
In the minority is that, well, it's just the sheer number. Ang daming magdi-disagree with you. Family members, friends, people who don't know you. Ang daming magdi-disagree with you. And that's a big part of the fear of speaking up against the majority, right?
Yeah.
But then again, you can't fault them for having the same views. It's their views. Nagkataon lang na mas madami. So, do you get me? Parang, I feel like, yes, it's daunting to speak up pag mas madaming nagdi-disagree with you. But cancel culture, if anything, okay, nag-cluster up nga yung people who think one way. And it's hard for the people, na minority, to speak up. But you also can't blame yung people trying to cancel. If they think a certain way, you can't blame them. And
Pero,
you have to give them the benefit
I'm
of
not
the doubt.
empowering the minority here. I'm trying to. I'm recommending
Mm.
that we empower institutions, not the minority. Because I understand number is a big factor on whether you're comfortable with speaking up or not. But you also have to take into account that when when singular opinions or when similar opinions are homogenized, there's no one to take control of the situation.
Okay,
That's
so my
what
question ako. So do you believe that everyone has the right to share their opinions and free speech?
Oh,
Yeah.
And
But the thing with cancel culture is they're not even given the chance to talk about it. They're not even given the chance to discuss about it. That's why they can't explain. All they do is hate. I mean, it's just a big hate mob sending death
Mm.
threats to these celebrities
I
saying,
don't
I'm
see
gonna
it that
cancel.
way. Because I also, you guys, I understand where you guys are coming from. But you also have to understand na until you give me stat per stat, number of times this has gone wrong, and number of times this has gone right, we can't assume na puro ganyan lahat. Because like R. Kelly and the plethora of things na naka-cancel na people because they were deserving of being canceled. Abusers, like war addicts, drug abusers, mga really nasty people na madami rin naka-cancel until you can prove to me na sobrang maliit lang yun na percentage and a vast majority is people na cancel without walang facts involved, as in natripan lang i-cancel. I can't agree with your point. Kasi
Yeah.
pero okay,
madami rin times like Justin. Sige, go.
I'll ask you na then. Sige. What's the ratio of ideal cancel culture situations and perversion of the idea for you, at least based on your ikaw din, Rock, based on your perception? Honest to
Mm.
goodness, nakikita ko puro malala.
I mean, I can't give and I'm not afraid to say na I can't give an answer to that. Because until I see yung current setting ngayon, okay, so this is my experiences and this is what it feels like right now. Kahit sa, kunyari the statistics, like someone makes a study and the statistics comes out na 5% lang pala ng lahat ng people na ko-condemn is unlawful na na-condemn sila. Or pwedeng baliktad din. I really can't give a number because what I feel right now does not reflect reality. And until I get facts to prove my point, I can't give an estimation like that for me.
And to me personally, again, I think I have the same sentiment with Kyle. I'm not gonna be arrogant and say I know everything and I know these facts and I can steer my answer to this. And I can also, again, that's me. I'm kind of mixed on this answer right now because I see it from your point therein that we're always I can you have to have data, you have to have the real knowledge and understanding to back up what you say because that's what's important. And in the intent of why you asked that, Pili, which is actually I want to can you repeat that one more time so that the audience, if they want to think on it for a bit too, they can answer? One more
Okay.
time.
My question was, actually, sorry, I wasn't asking for numbers. I was asking you for your general perception on the matter. Kung anong napapansin yung nangyayari. Because the reason why I asked is that if a lot of you say otherwise, edi I'm happily proven wrong. Na baka mali lang yung tinitingnan ko.
And so in that response to that, in my vein,
By the way, kung nalaman ko na mas madami talaga naka-cancel, kasi it doesn't feel like that to me. Sa lahat na nakikita ko naka-cancel is talagang dapat na-cancel sila.
It seems as though
Cancel.
to what I answer to you, for my answer to you, it's all about perspective. And from where I land right now and where my 2 feet are right now, I can safely say that for as much as I've seen on the bad end of it, and there's a lot, like if you go way beyond YouTube, it gets really bad. I can also safely say that for as recent as Will Smith, going all the way back to when I was a kid on YouTube, just surfing things, when I grew up with Twitter, I think it's safe to say that the experiences I've seen as well, they can constitute my belief that the culture itself has always been something that was present, that something that kind of really grew alongside the culture of social media, and that I'm not gonna say if it was how do you say this word, if it was inevitable or not, but I think it's just safe to say it was bound to be normalized. And I'm with the crowd that believes as long as we continue to never how do I say this, never standardize it too much or to never try to box it in too much, if we at least try to give ourselves never stop never stop to develop as an online culture itself, I truly do believe, I guess to simply say, if we're left alone, I feel like we can figure it out as long as we can also understand the collateral. with moving forward now, since we don't know what's happening or what's gonna happen now moving forward, being online all the time, how do you think this is gonna go? Like, do you feel as though, as because we've discussed now the basis of cancel culture, and moving forward, like, where do you think this online space is gonna take it, or at least with your own perspectives, how far do you think this whole situation is gonna go? Like, give me that good, just one stop.
Mm. Ako, actually, hindi siya one stop, but super quick lang. I'm just hoping that the institutions would eventually be enabled to handle the situation better, as well as the people. Because I don't really see the people taking it into themselves to fix the issue. I mean, without proper control and guidance. I honestly don't think na hindi natin masasolve though with the way we are right now. The only way that we'll completely eradicate the cancel culture idea and its perversions is through a dictatorial state, which I don't follow, by the way.
I don't.
But that's the only way I see it completely going out of the picture.
Are you serious?
I don't support
Fork.
dictatorship, but that's the only way I
Okay.
see it completely.
That's,
Don't you
that's what
think that
got.
cancel culture is already like basically dictatorship?
No, it's
No.
mob rule, actually.
No. No.
Okay. Go. Disagree. And okay, go.
Pero my thing lang with Pili's point is, if you try to institutionalize everything, you that's counterproductive to free speech and discourse and having the power of every person, right? And more often than not,
Mhm.
more often than not, what happens is those institutions are easily more corrupted, or at least gives more corrupted outputs than a mass majority. Then kunyari, I mean, guys, ito like another thing we're not looking at is two things for me, and I would love for everyone to answer lang like number one, what does it mean to be canceled ba? Kasi in
Ostracized.
reality,
Ostrich.
no, but I
Sorry.
know, but like in reality, even before this whole cancel culture hashtag whatever, there has been cancel culture. Remember when we tried to cancel Robert Downey Jr. when nung druggy pa siya and all that? Remember that nung parang before he was Iron Man and all that? Okay, I'm old.
Yeah.
Basta there was a time that who plays the pirate in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Jack Sparrow and
Oh, wait, that's a
Desi. What's
character.
his name?
The artist.
Johnny
The
Depp.
artist. Johnny Depp.
Johnny.
Jack
So there was a time.
My gosh.
Makinig po.
Johnny.
My
Yung
gosh.
Johnny Depp and
Johnny.
Johnny Depp.
okay, Johnny Depp and Robert Downey Jr. They were both they were on the brink of being canceled at some point. Honestly, druggy sila. 'Di ba nga si Iron Man pa nga, 'di ba? Parang nahulihan na illegal may mga barrel,
Yeah.
right?
Sa
Okay.
movie?
And yet
Yeah.
they were able to climb.
sorry.
Trinayin nila mag-climb and they were able to climb, right? So sobrang sorry, medyo dumbfounded yung idea for me na pag na-cancel ka, you have no point of redemption and all that. Where in 6 months, I agree. Sa lahat na na-cancel, na sa tingin nyo na-cancel, I genuinely believe na in 6 months, no one will remember that you were even in our timelines. As in, ganun, that's just how the world works eh. And if you do something nasty, and, okay, so yun yung question ko sa inyo, for everyone, 2 questions. What does it actually mean to be canceled in a not dramatized manner, as in realistically? Kasi I have yet to meet someone na cancel unlawfully and completely nawala sa balat ng lupa, because that I don't think exists. And number 2, what about all the times na okay, people try to unlawfully criticize Justin Bieber and J. Cole and those people, and they were just able to show the facts, di na sila guilty.
No, I just wanna just wanna add to what Pili said about dictatorship. Okay, because I don't think the solution is dictatorship. Because dictatorship is something that almost leads to toxicity also, diba? You can't fix one abuse of privilege or power, which is, for example, in this case, cancel culture, with another. Because the whole problem with cancel culture here is it reaching the other side of the pendulum, it being too extreme, and it's being used for the wrong reasons. So,
Sorry,
yeah,
let me clear it up. Siguro solution was a wrong word.
okay.
Solution entails that it's a positive counter attack to the issue, diba? What I'm
Yeah.
saying, it's the only viable method to which we can completely eradicate cancel culture.
Okay, I see your point. So in that sense, Raffie, do you have any like finality on that thought, or do you have your own kind of what you've been building up on yourself?
I just wanted to address that. Yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay.
Yeah, in that sense. Yeah.
Final sentiments na lang na, yeah, okay. Some people might forget that someone was canceled after a few months. But the thing is,
Years.
okay. But the thing is, I was talking, one byproduct of being canceled is the removal of his prospects. Now, I wouldn't put it to Robert Downey Jr. and the pirate guy, but there are definitely some people that lost their prospects even if their cancellation happened years ago. Because, for example, when you look for a job, they don't just take into account who you are now, they take into account your complete history.
Okay, so in that sense, again, I think we all can agree that cancel culture by itself brings its effects far and wide, regardless of the degrees we see it. So in that end of the discussion, I think it's still always up there. It's never gonna leave, right? Just like how consistent our social platforms are, how fast our Twitter feeds scroll down, how much we look at stories on Instagram. This is something that's never truly gonna stop, and that's a good thing because that's exactly how we're gonna reach a logical, good conclusion. In that same sense, I hope that what we discussed today, everything we put out, was a logical, good end or start to your day. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, one and all. First of all, I want to say thank you to my hosts right now, my boys here, Kyle and Pili and Raffie Leon. Thank you so much, guys,
Lagot
for
ka,
giving your
Raffy.
thoughts.
Lagot
Oh
ka.
yes,
Okay,
buddy.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
Wow,
Yes.
wow, wow.
Our boomer here is getting tired. He's got to get his sleep, so we're gonna give him
Yeah,
that.
let's give him his
Arthritis.
rest.
Let's give him his rest, guys. And I'm sure everyone here watching right now, if you guys have to start your day with this, please go with good energy, good faith. If you're ending your day, I hope you guys sleep well as well. If you want to keep up to date, just keep our socials up. If you want to follow us on Spotify or Facebook or anything of the matter, we encourage you. And number one, I think since it was brought up now, and I'm not sure if it was brought up before, we are a platform of discussion. I'm sorry I brought it again because of all the things we've received, of all the words we know, we know. So, in that same sense,
Yeah.
don't stop. We want to at least know how to respond to it more. And we just appreciate you being here. The fact that you clicked on this video, you watched it, or you heard of it, that's enough for us. So, for the next episode, we'll see you there,
Rock,
hopefully.
Rock,
Mm.
wait.
Yes, yes, yes.
Importante rin sabihin to everyone that the opinions of everyone here, DR95 has created this place
Of course.
wherein the opinions of everyone here does not reflect the entire organization.
The
Okay,
opinions
relax.
of this
Yeah.
platform, we are not
And
agenda
everyone
pushing.
95 is a bully. Binubully nila ako that they say I'm a
Excuse
boomer.
me. He literally just
It out there. I'm just putting it out there. Raffy is a bully.
and he literally
I literally.
Literally.
Bye,
And
everyone.
but yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay good. Hey, if you want to check the rest of our content, see our Facebook and Instagram links in the caption, go click that. Or if you want to go down to our Spotify page below to keep up with the discussion while doing your chores or with whatever else you're preoccupied with. Is there something else you want us to talk about though? Comment down below and we'll make sure to hear you out. But thanks again, and here's to the next.